In Templar, the Secret Treasures, 2 to 5 players recollect and hide treasures in the rooms of a small abbey. The main game board is the abbey. Each room has an assortment of hiding places, and their symbols show which kind of treasure can be hidden there. A second board, the harbor, contains 6 warehouses from which the players will collect these treasures. Each player has their own identical set of treasure tokens in their color. These are placed in a common pool by the harbor board. The warehouse slots are filled with randomly drawn generic square tiles. Each player has a hand of 11 cards. One of the cards shows endgame scoring, so just place it down somewhere near yourself for reference. The other 10 cards represent the inhabitants of the abbey and are used to move around the board, hide treasure, move treasure, collect treasure from the harbor, and score points. All the cards are language independent. The iconography on the left-hand side of the card shows you what the card can do. For this demo, I will explain all 10 cards. The 3 monk cards allow a player to first move 1, 2, or 3 rooms, and then hide 3, 2, or 1 treasures. The novice can move up to 3 rooms, and may bring any player's sealing ring, yours, or one of the opponent's, to a different location. The messenger moves your player token from the abbey to the harbor. You then take all the treasures from a single warehouse and exchange them for the identical treasures in your player color. On your next turn, you will re-enter the abbey from one of the 2 doorways. The illustrator moves a player's piece 1 or 2 rooms, and then that player scores 1 victory point for each other piece of wood in the room. The gatekeeper moves the locked door piece, which prevents both the players and the special characters from using one passageway. The bell card does 2 things. First, it lets a player take all of their cards back into their hand. And second, it refills the warehouses with as many treasures as the number shown on the last card that the player played. That's this number in the upper right corner. The abbot, spy, and prior all have their own wooden pieces. This is a demo copy of the game, so the wooden pieces here are not the wooden pieces we have designed for this game. The abbot moves 1 or 2 rooms and awards victory points for the treasures hidden in that room. The abbot is always moving forward because he is being tailed by the spy. The spy does not have a card, but is always 1 room behind the abbot. The prior moves 1 to 3 rooms, and moving him gives a player 1 victory point. If the prior and the abbot are in the same room together, the abbot cannot award victory points for the treasures in that room. During the first round of the game, all players choose a card from their hand and reveal them simultaneously. Starting with the youngest player, actions are then taken. Player 1 has chosen to go to the harbor, chooses a warehouse, and exchanges the generic tiles to his player color. Player 2 has played a monk, moves his player token 1 or 2 rooms, and hides up to 2 treasures. Player 3 has chosen a monk, moves his player token 1, 2, or 3 rooms, and can only hide 1 treasure. For the rest of the game, players will now choose cards 1 at a time, playing them to the table with the restriction that they may not play a card that matches the top card in front of any other player. Player 2 chooses the abbot, moves the abbot 1 or 2 rooms. Don't forget to move the spy as well, and scores everything in that room. 2 victory points for sealing rings, 3 victory points for a book, and 5 victory points for goblets. When scoring is done, turn all tokens over to their scored side. Each treasure can only be scored once. Player 3 plays, oh, you just played the same card Player 1 has on top of his discard pile. Player 3 takes his card back into his hand and loses 1 victory point. He still has to play a card, so he plays the bells. His last played card was a monk, number 5. So he takes the grab bag and one at a time draws 5 new treasures to fill the warehouses at the harbor. Follow the arrows around the board, 1 new piece per warehouse. He also takes all his used cards back into his hand. Player 3 is returning from the warehouse and chooses which entrance to the abbey is best for him. He has played the illustrator, so he wants to get in a room with as many wood pieces as he can to score 1 victory point for each. He gets 3 victory points from that move. Player 1 plays a monk and moves and hides 1 treasure and announces that he has hidden an item in all 13 rooms. Every player now gets 1 more turn. The other way the endgame can trigger is if there are not enough generic tiles to fill up the warehouses at the harbor. The 11th card shows the endgame scoring. Every unscored ceiling ring in the church is worth 2 victory points. If a player has hidden their treasures in 7 rooms, they gain 4 victory points. 8 rooms, 5 victory points. 9 rooms, 6 victory points. 10 rooms, 8 victory points. 11 rooms, 11 victory points. 12 rooms, 15 victory points. And 13 rooms, 20 victory points. And that's the game. Thanks for watching our video.